Hello, hello, hello. How is it going out there, guys? We are live. Another Monday night, another edition of Mannimal Research. I am joined, as always, by my partner in crime, the lovely and talented Mr. Derek Jasper Walls. How's it going tonight, buddy? I know you had a little bit of technical difficulty with your computer. How's it going?
Yeah, dang power cord wasn't charging, so I'm mad. Luckily, I know a little bit of technology and use my phone, so I don't want
Okay.
to. It's what I can use.
All right, like we always do. Want to first off welcome everybody to the show. And if you haven't already done so, I want to ask everybody to please hit that subscribe button. We are nowhere near where we want to be in the subscribers, but we're getting there, guys. We appreciate it. So hit that button if you don't mind. Also, like to ask everyone to head over to mannimalresearch.com. That is our website. You can find out more about us over there, some of our team members, some of the stuff that we've been doing. You can report your encounters there as well. We can get in touch with you. Be happy to talk to you about maybe coming on and sharing your experience with us, being a guest on the show. We'd love to have you because we honestly believe that the best way to learn about the behavior of these things is from eyewitness accounts. We got to talk to the people that have seen them and interacted with them in some way to figure out what we got going on. So yeah, guys, head over to minimalresearch.com and check us out. We would appreciate it. We also can be found on Facebook, Mannimal Research on Facebook. Just type that in, pull up our group, and hit join, and be happy to accept you. And like the last few shows, tonight's show is going to be brought to you by ShowMeBigfoot.com. Those of you that hadn't had a chance to go over there and check out that site, Gary's put together a really, really good site over there. You can find out all kind of information on the big guy. You can find different avenues, places to go to get your information on Bigfoot, and help Gary out. Show him some love. He put a lot of work into that website, and it looks good. So you guys help him out. Walls, what's been going on with you, buddy?
Not much. It's doing the thing, normal stuff, working out, doing the deal.
Yeah, we few of us went on an encounter or an expedition this past weekend. We went up north the mountains of North Georgia, not back to Blue Ridge. You know what happened to us there, but another part of another part of North Georgia to a relative hot spot out there. Had a real good time. You didn't get to make it, but
Yeah.
we had a good time. I want to send a shout out to my buddy John. He's one of our members. Had a good time. John and his buddy Jay came with us, and my boy Eli. So yeah, we got rained on, man. We got flooded out there. It rained super hard, just at night though. So during the day we got to get out and walk around. Found some tree breaks, some arches, general stuff like that. There's definitely signs that they're there. Um, did one got to do one night expedition that one night, and we got a whoop. We heard it plain as day. Had my phone out recording. I'm not sure if I was able to pick it up because it was a good distance away, but we did hear it. So place was active. It wasn't a loss. It was a good time.
That's good.
Yeah, I wish you could have been there.
You probably had activity when the rain was going so hard. They're probably sitting out there looking at you.
Yeah, I mean all that rain, all that noise and everything, they pretty much had free, will to walk around,
Oh
do
yeah.
whatever they wanted, not be heard.
Yep.
All right, well, let's talk about our guest tonight, guys. We are so very excited, and I personally am honored to have Duke from World Bigfoot Radio on the show. I've talked to Duke for a little while now. Duke has a reputation in the in the community, being a little bit out there, but Duke he's outspoken, and he's a real good guy. He knows his stuff, guys. He really does. That's why it's a big honor to have him on. We can all learn something from guys like Duke. He's been doing it for a while now, and just honored to have him on. And like I said, he's got a YouTube show. He's got a show on YouTube as well called World Bigfoot Radio. So guys, go check that out. Those of you that haven't, I'm sure just about everybody watches his show because Duke's the real deal, guys. He really is. You got anything else before we bring him on, buddy?
Yeah, I'm gonna give a shout out to Pappy Two Bears and them since I don't have my computer. I'm having a look at the comments and tell everybody hello and everything. Keeping an eye on that. They always are here. And,
oh yeah, looks like we got a few. Pappy Two Bears is there. We got the Wild Man.
Yeah.
My dad, Stanley Sothero. Hey, Dad.
Yeah.
Boots on the Ground with Barb. She's a new one, new to our show anyway. And I want to say hey to everybody. Appreciate y'all hanging out. All right, buddy. If you're ready, we're gonna bring Duke on.
Bring him on, man. Let's do it. We ready?
There he is. What's happening, Duke? Looks like Duke's frozen.
I'm frozen a little bit. Yeah, he's frozen.
Duke, you there, buddy?
Hey.
Duke.
Yep. Big Sky howdy, everybody.
Hey, there he is. All right, Duke, we talked you up just a little bit, buddy. How's it going?
Yes, sir. Pretty good. Pretty good. It's kind of steamy, stinky hot here today, so glad to be sitting indoors talking to you.
Dude, you're breaking up just a little bit, buddy. We're not getting a good connection somehow.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I just heard that. I hear crickets in the background.
We
are.
That's probably me because I'm sitting outside. That's just crickets out there.
All right, can you hear me, Duke?
Indoors. Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
There we go. He's getting a little bit better now.
Okay, yeah, we had a little bit of trouble there at the beginning. Duke, what's been going on with you, buddy? Anything new happening with you?
Yeah, actually getting ready for a big expedition here this coming weekend. It's the annual Top of the Continent Bigfoot expedition. I got people coming from all over the state. One from over near Mount St. Helens, another one from northern Washington State up by the Canadian border, and a celebrity friend that's also been on your show from Nebraska, and that'd be Barry Webster from Res Squatchin'.
Mm-hmm. So Barry's coming out?
Yep, Barry's going to be here too.
Barry's a heck of a guy. He's the real deal, ain't he?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yep.
Yeah, kind of want to switch gears a little bit, Duke. When you and I initially talked on the phone, you know, you're up there in Montana, and you were telling me about some of the little guys that you run into up there. What were some of those called? And you told me about some of the legends and the Native American legends. And we got a lot of people interested in Native American stuff. Do you mind talking a little bit about that?
Little people, yeah. Around here, you're mainly talking about little people around here called the Nurumbi, Nirumbee. That's what the Crow called them. I think it's the Shoshone. See, the Shoshone or the Blackfoot call them Namirigar. They've all got like their own little names for them, of course, but they're talking about the same little people. And these guys basically look like 18-inch tall little native guys with kind of weird looking heads, like they're Cabbage Patch Kids or something, with shark-like teeth. And apparently they wear like, you know, buckskin type clothes and put their hair in braids and stuff, just like the natives used to. One of the guests I had on my show, her great uncle, actually, back in the 1940s, was talked to two of these little people up in the Bighorn Mountains, and he said they were speaking a really old dialect of the Crow language. He could only understand about half of what they were saying because He didn't understand all the words in the Old Crow dialect, and he was one of the people in the tribe that's supposed to be really knowledgeable about this stuff, and he only knew part of the word, so he was picking up enough from what they were saying to figure out what they were talking about. But there's probably like a lot of hand motioning and stuff going on too. And she, the lady I had on, that's great uncle had this experience. She had seen him more than once herself, and several other members of her family had seen him. It's like well known that they're near there, and they're allies of the Crow tribe back in the olden days, which to my way of thinking helps explain why the Crow tribe even exists, because they were surrounded by really big hostile tribes that didn't like them and were, pretty much more than happy to wipe them out given the opportunity, yet somehow they're still there. And part of it, I think, can be attributed to the fact that they were like pretty much the only tribe that was actually on fairly good terms with these little guys, and that they lived right next to them. So, a really strange situation.
Okay, were there any correlation with these little guys and the big guys that we know as Bigfoot?
Well, out in this part of the country, the natives will tell you if you see Bigfoot tracks, you probably don't want to follow them very far because they might think that you're trailing them and get the wrong idea. But if you see little person tracks, you need to just like turn around and leave. They're way more dangerous. And there isn't going to be just one of them wandering around. There's going to be a bunch of them. And, they're said to have a whole host of unsavory abilities, including being able to be ridiculously fast, which gets reported about pretty much all the little people. They all seem to be outlandishly fast for their size. And then these guys are supposed to have super strength too, and also like to use poison weapons. So add those three up, and no thanks.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you're right. You're right. Is there any kind of connection between those guys and what us folks down here in the South would be known as or have heard about gnomes? I mean, is there any?
No, gnomes are friendly, and for the most part, except for the red caps, from what I understand from the little person expert Robin Moonshadow that I've had on my show numerous times. And actually, sometimes when I get little person reports, I just send them to her because she's the one that's doing the research on them. But according to mythology, the red caps are the gnomes that are actually dangerous. And the legend with them is that they like to live in old ruins, old ruined castles and stuff over in Europe, especially. But here it might be like old ruined farms or something like that. And why do they have red caps? Well, because they dye them in the blood of their fallen foes, which would be anybody that tries to invade the place they're living in. So, not a good idea.
Well, yeah. I ask about gnomes because we don't. Or I personally haven't. I haven't heard a whole lot about them down here where we're at. We're in the southeast Tennessee, North Georgia area, and Walls and I actually went to do an investigation on a mountain in North Georgia. It was the first time we had ever been there. And on our way up, I thought, I would do the right thing. I stopped in at the ranger station, introduced myself, told them that we were going to be up there camping, and had a conversation with the guy. He's a young guy, been doing it for a few years, and I was comfortable with him, so I just came out and asked him about the big guys, about any sightings, and he kind of laughed. He said, "No reports of Bigfoot, but we have had gnomes." And I thought he was pulling my leg. I didn't know how to take that. And he said, "Yeah." I said, "You're kidding, right? You're messing with me." He said, "No, I'm dead serious. We have reports all the time of gnomes, of little people up here." He said one of our more seasoned rangers up here has seen them himself. And so yeah, that's what piqued my interest. And then when you started talking to me about all these other small guys that you guys have up there, it kind of interests me. But you don't think gnomes are really all that dangerous, except for maybe the red caps?
Yeah, well, I mean, keeping in mind that gnomes predominantly European folklore, it's not really from North America. So that, makes you wonder, what's going on? How did they get here? Because they're not in native legend, but people see them. So what the hell, did they stow away at some point to get over here? I don't know.
Yeah.
But there's been reports of other things here on the continent since, before the white man even showed up. The Narumbi over here and stuff, they were around, had totally independent of us ever being here. And then you have other interesting things like Henry Hudson, when the guy they named Hudson's Bay after, when he was up there with his crew going through Hudson's Bay and through the valley up there and everything. Excuse me. He, according to his report, he ran into a group of dwarves. They're all busy getting drunk, and invited them to come and have some beer with them. And he noticed that his men, as soon as they started drinking, this dwarf and whatever it was that they were serving up, started getting ludicrously drunk way too fast, and he got worried about it, and ordered his men that they needed to go back to the canoes right now, and no, you can't stay and drink any more beer. And the dwarves seemed to be a trifle off-put by that, but farewells, bye humans. Apparently, this guy was savvy enough that he had read a lot of the old folklore about if you go and eat and drink with the little people, that you might never come back again. So it's not a good idea.
Well, that's crazy, man. It's very, very interesting. But you believe that the little ones are more dangerous than the Bigfoot and the Sasquatch?
No, I said that's what the natives around here say. That's
Okay.
what they think. The locals say that. I haven't had any run-ins with the little guys. The only evidence I found they even exist is 3 tracks. That's it.
Okay, but you have seen tracks?
Oh, yeah. Yep,
What did they?
Tracks over at the ghost town of Coloma at about 5,700 feet altitude.
Oh, wow. What did the tracks look like compared to Bigfoot tracks?
They don't look anything like Bigfoot tracks. It looked like a toddler human's tracks wearing moccasins, about 3.5, 4 inches long.
Okay, so it just looks like a shoe print, about 3 inches long?
Yep. Yeah, it could have been a toddler wearing a moccasin, and his mom just happened to set him down in a gravel heap in the middle of frickin' nowhere where there's no trail anywhere near it. Sure, that's an outside possibility.
Yeah.
Or it could be one of the little people that actually are supposed to live there, according to all the locals. You guys decide.
Now, how long have you been doing research, Duke, on the big guys?
Since I saw the first one in 72, I probably actually started actively paying attention to it and wanting to really learn as much as I could about it around 74, 75.
So that's about the time you started going out into the field and actively
No,
looking
I wasn't going
for?
out into the field. I was avoiding going out into the field at all. I was trying to do book research and figure out what the hell I was dealing with. Go wander.
Okay. Are you froze?
Lost the stream again for a second.
Yeah, there you are. So you started out doing some research by book, obviously, and back then we didn't have the internet, so you had to check out books and do your research then. So at what point would you say that you started going out into the woods and started aggressively looking for them? They were.
Well, it's froze again.
Yeah, Duke's having some trouble. Streaming issues.
Hey, do you still have the pictures of the print?
What's that?
You still have our pictures of the
Mm-hmm.
prints that we got over on Big Frog? Like, have you showed him the pictures and see what he thinks? Because he was talking about the way them foot look, the way it's smoothed
Yeah,
out like that. See if
we got him back now. He's. You there, buddy? You there, Duke?
I'm still freezing.
Sorry about this, ladies and gentlemen. As you know, with live streaming service, it does happen sometimes. Duke, let me know if you can hear me, buddy. Are you there, Duke?
See if he can log out and log back in and see if that will help his connection. Because you have to think he is in Montana. He's further west, and then plus all the streaming. There's not much in Montana. I've been through Montana for driving, so
Hey,
see
Duke,
if that will.
You there, Duke?
I'm here. You guys keep breaking up all the time.
Okay, you think maybe if you signed out and signed back in, you might get a better connection? That's what one of our viewers suggested.
I can try it.
Okay.
How do you do that?
Let's see something. We'll try it out and see what happens. It might be.
What does it say? Leave studio and then go back again?
Yeah, try that.
See how it does.
But yeah, Wallace, to answer your question, he's seen those tracks, and he agreed with me that they were Bigfoot. He gave me a lot of information on them. We can ask him about them when he comes back.
I was wondering about the small feet, and I was like, hey,
he's talking about 3 inches maybe with the little ones.
Okay.
The tracks that we had, the 9-10 inch tracks, he agreed that they look like juvenile Bigfoot, juvenile Sasquatch.
Okay.
All right, how's that, buddy? Dude, can you hear us, buddy?
I don't know. Let's see. Did it work any better?
I heard you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, what I was asking before, how long have you been going out into the field and like looking for tracks and tree breaks, bends, general field research?
Since late 1970s when I started actually actively doing anything. Because my second encounter in the later 70s, one showed up right in the yard. And at that point, it became apparent that I couldn't just ignore the situation and not go in the woods. They were going to show up on my yard anyway.
Okay. And what part of the country was that in, dude?
That's when I started going back out in the woods. Did you catch all of that?
I caught bits and pieces of it, man. Have you always lived in Montana? Is that where your original encounters took place?
We still have an issue.
Yeah,
we're frozen on his side, and he's frozen on our side.
Yeah. I don't know what's going on, guys. I'm sorry about that.
Well, we got so many people getting off of work and getting on the Wi-Fi, so it's getting, gonna knock our signal down a little bit. Give him a minute. He's gonna try something like that.
Yeah, he's gonna do something. Oh, Bear, I would appreciate that, buddy. I hope you don't hold tonight against this. We usually got it together a little bit better than this. I sure would appreciate though. I've heard your show and you do a good job, buddy. Let's see if we can get Duke back though.
Hey, Daryl, I see you on there. I'm checking the messages now. What's up, Daryl?
Try us again, Duke.
Hey, guys.
Hey.
We got any improvement here?
Yeah, yeah, I hear you. Can you hear us okay?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I just heard bits and pieces about your encounter. I heard you say that you found out that they were coming to your yard, so you weren't going out in the field. That's what I took from that. This ain't working.
It just froze again.
Move right next next to the freaking Wi-Fi and see if that helps. I don't know if this is going to help or not.
Well, that's moving a little bit more there.
I'm practically sitting right next to the router now. If this don't work, that's it.
Okay, well, I heard you say that.
It ain't freezing as bad. Yeah, Montana has a lot of mountains, man. There's a lot of mountains out there. It's pretty country. I've rode through it plenty of times. It's pretty country.
All right. Okay, hopefully this will hold a signal for more than 10 seconds.
Old Bear Den suggested that we turn off your camera and just have your audio come in, and that might improve it.
Well,
What do you think
that'll
about
be
that?
more- well, undoubtedly it'll work better than trying to do a video feed. Video takes a lot more, a lot more.
Okay, I have the
bandwidth,
option. I have the option to mute you, but not to turn your camera off. That would have to be done by you. But if this is working, we can keep going.
Let's try it for now. If we have any more problems, then we'll just delete the camera too.
Okay, so yeah, dude, what I was trying to get from you, and I believe what you said was you weren't going out into the field because you found that they were coming to you. Is that correct?
No, I wasn't going out in the field because I wanted to have a damn thing to do with them. After I saw that first one, I didn't want nothing to do with it. I couldn't go out in the woods or anything.
Okay, I can certainly understand that, but that obviously
Second time
changed
they
at
showed
some
up on
point.
my yard in the late 70s. As everybody that's already heard my encounters knows, the first one I didn't even remember for the first 2 years. And then after I remembered it, I wasn't going out in the woods. And in the late 70s, I had one show up right on the frickin' yard. At that point, well, they're going to show up on your yard. You better know something about them. And you're not going to learn it by going out in the woods. That's how you're going to get your ass killed. So that's when I started doing archive research.
Okay. And what part of the country was that, Duke? Was that also in Montana?
Minnesota. I would have
Minnesota.
been in Montana for 10 years.
Okay. Okay. So you know all about them cold winters, don't you?
Yep. Yeah, the first time I saw
Okay.
one was second week in February. We were out sledding. It was 2:00 in the afternoon. It was still 20 below.
Oh,
That was
wow.
like a big warm up because we had the county next to us 2 weeks before, not even 2 weeks, week and a half before that, I think. It had an all-time record low of 52 below.
Oh, my
That's
goodness.
ambient temperature. We're not talking about wind chill here.
That's crazy. That's crazy,
so to us,
man.
when it's like, 20 below, woohoo, balmy heat wave, let's go sledding.
So in Minnesota, during that time, was there snow on the ground pretty much all winter?
Yeah, northern Minnesota experiences 9 months of winter and 3 months of rough sledding.
So when you had your first encounter, I imagine there was snow on the ground. Is that correct?
Middle of February. Are you freaking kidding me? Yeah, just think of like Alaska. Would there be snow on the ground in February in Alaska? Yeah, there's snow.
Well, I've never been to
Plenty of
Minnesota.
snow.
That's
Yeah.
why I was wondering.
Minnesota, where I lived, is right next to the Canadian border, buddy. Middle of the
Okay.
continent. There's not a colder place except for Alaska.
Okay. So the point I was trying to get to, it's all white outside. What color was the big guy that you saw? I'm imagining he stuck out like a sore thumb.
Not really. I mean, he was pretty well camouflaged. He had the parts of him that I saw, other than his face and his fingertips, was just his legs, and they were about the same thickness of the trees he was standing next to, and that's what drew my attention initially, because trees don't have hair on them, and this had hair that was like 4 or 5 inches long and grayish white with like little snow dingleberries all over it. So obviously not a tree.
Okay, so would you say it was about the same color as a tree, a brown? That's what I'm trying to figure
No,
out.
it's more like gray, like most pine tree trunks and stuff are kind of a grayish. That's what this was.
Okay, okay. And did you notice him just standing there in the wood line watching you?
Well, no, people that have heard my original encounter know that he was standing behind a pine tree watching me through the pine branches. That was the only damn cover that there was. Everything else was just hardwood trees that all the leaves had already fallen off. The only thing on top of the hill that he could hide behind was this big black spruce that was about 40 feet away from me. And that's what he was standing behind, trying to, trying to make me think that a tree had three trunks. No, trees don't have three trunks. They have one.
That's funny. Um, so I'm wondering when you finally did start going out and doing your research in the woods. Have you had any visuals since then? Since you've been actively looking for them, have you had luck seeing any?
Well, yeah. I mean, I get to see them. They photobomb me a lot too, and I'm not looking at them when they're in the background when people are taking pictures. Yeah, I had two of them here just in 2015. I had one of them that was right up by where I was camping. I was walking up to camp, and unusually, I wasn't taking the regular trail. I went straight up this 30-foot cliff, and then I was cutting across a nice field full of tall grass, which was covering the sound of me walking through it because the wind was blowing. And the wind was blowing from him to me, so he couldn't smell me coming. And all of a sudden, I went through this little tree line, and I was right out in the open, about 60 feet away from him. And he just plopped down and pretended that he was a stump and thought I'd fall for it. And initially I did. I was just coming
Mhm.
back and I had my camera on my hip and I went, shit, that stump looks just like a Bigfoot. I should take a quick video here and talk about pareidolia. And when I reached for my camera, I looked back up and now the stump's glaring at me and I'm like, okay, that's not a freaking stump. Stumps don't glare. And he said, and I don't know if it was mind speak or what, but I got this feeling from him like, I'm a stump. And I'm like, okay, yeah, you're a stump. That's totally fine. Putting the camera back. I'm going to continue walking now. And, because like my tent was only about like 70, 80 feet away from where I was standing. And he's in between me and the road. And I'm like, I don't want to piss him off. He's pretty good size. Couple years, shit, this was last summer. I was up there with one of the viewers of my channel from San Diego. He was in town visiting and he wanted to see where some of the stuff had been filmed and he had part of a day. So I went, well, that was really close. Let's go up there. And I was showing him the spot and I said, hey, as long as we're up here, why don't we get a comparison shot? You go over and stand right where the Bigfoot that was pretending to be the stump was, and I'll stand where I was standing and put my hand down to my belt like I'm reaching for my camera. And we'll get the comparison shot from the Bigfoot's point of view, what he was seeing, what the Bigfoot pretending to be a stump was seeing when I was standing there. And he went, sure. So he goes, oh, where is it over here? And I said, you see where the tree is kind of bent over at a weird angle, like something really heavy sat on it and kind of squashed it? And he's like, you're kidding. And I went, no, that's it. That's how I know exactly where he was sitting. Because before he sat down and pretended to be a stump, that tree was straight up. Now it's at this kind of like angle where he sat his fat ass down on it and crushed it. So he goes over there and he's standing right where this bent tree is, and he's got his camera all lined up and takes a picture and everything. And he's like, okay, cool. So he goes back to San Diego, and about 3 days later, he sends me this picture and he said, does this look like a Bigfoot face to you? And I'm like, yeah, cool. Well, whose video did you get that from? And he goes, I took it out of one of the pictures that I took when I was with you a couple days ago. And I'm like, what? And he goes, yeah, the one where we were doing the stump comparison picture. And I'm like, I'm thinking about it. And I'm like, well, you're 60 feet away from me. And what the hell, how could you possibly get a Bigfoot face in this picture? And he said, well, the picture's in HD. And I said, oh, send me the picture. So then I took a look at it, immediately found another one. I passed it along to two of my other friends who each found an additional one. So apparently there was actually four of them in the background watching us do this comparison shot while we were doing it. And this is not at all uncommon. I've had a bunch of other researchers that have showed me similar pictures where they're trying to do a comparison of where they got a picture of a Bigfoot and the freaking things are hiding in the background watching them do it, or setting up a
Really?
game cam, watching them set up a game cam, or casting a track, watching them cast the track. they follow you around the woods the whole freaking time you're there. As soon as you walk into the woods, they've got one on your ass like a fly on dog crap, and he's going to stay with you. If there's only one, there could be more than one. One of our favorite tactics is to just overwhelm and confuse, break up into so many teams that they run out of sentinels to follow everybody. They can't keep track of where the hell everybody is all the time. You cluster together, you make it too easy for them.
Yeah, I mean, what you're talking about sounds a lot like what we went through just a couple weeks ago. Duke, I'm sure you remember you saw that video that we posted about the big frog, because you commented on it about the tracks that we got, the juveniles appearing to be.
Found a couple of good squatchlet. Yep, those look like squatchlet tracks. We found them too, and they just look like little human tracks, except they're too wide and they're flat-footed, and the indentation is way too deep for a human that size. Like it's about, should be about 1/3 as deep if it was a human than what they actually end up being. We found 10-inch long tracks that were way deeper in the ground than either me or Michael's tracks, and he weighed 300 pounds. And, his 14-inch foot wasn't leaving an impression anywhere near as deep in the ground as those little 10-inch tracks were.
Yeah, Walls, that's one of the things we noticed, wasn't it? Was how deep those tracks were. They were every bit of 3.5 inches deep.
Yeah, those guys, they're just incredibly dense and heavy.
I was thinking about that. I was thinking about that one, but when he started saying about the group thing, I was thinking about when we was up on the mountain and we got the thermal hits and we seen several of them in the woods. And we had something following us that night. Remember making that weird squeaking whistle noise? So that made a whole lot of sense when he said that, talking about more than one. And we got them on thermal, and I was like, "Hey, we already had that. We've had that happen."
Yeah, but this big frog video that we posted though, Duke, we've had several of our viewers or a couple of viewers comment on stuff that they've seen in the background, and that goes right along with what you were just saying. How they just go around, they watch you set up game cams and all this stuff. Because did you see this picture? Did I send you that one, Duke?
Yeah, and that does look like a squatchlet up in a tree too. Kevin Lang caught one of those. He's walking along an embankment, and this embankment on the road goes down about 20 feet. There's trees growing down there, so you're looking at, when you're straight across walking up the road, you're at like the 25-foot height point on the tree. And there's one up there hanging onto the frickin' tree watching him. And as he goes past, it goes like that and covers its mouth and nose to break up the outline of its face. So instead, you can see the top of its forehead, its eyes, and its hand covering its face. I don't know if that helped a lot, but it's still obvious as crap. But it's only on camera for like 1/3 of a second. He didn't even notice. It's just zoomed as he's going by with the camera. And I caught it later and zoomed in on it. Went, there you go. There's a squatchlet in the tree right there watching you.
That one was only on camera for like 2 seconds, and then a viewer of ours pointed this one out. And I had a buddy of mine clean it up a little bit, lighten it up, and this is what he got.
Yeah, that looks like a peaker, all right.
And that was in the general area where we heard movement, and it was close to where that little one, what we think was a little one, was up in a tree. So, I mean, it's obviously speculation, but we think a little one was in the tree and Mama was on the ground.
Mm-hmm. Might have another one over there on the right-hand side, about in the middle, too.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Trees?
The what?
Duke, is he talking about right between them two little trees right there? Is that what, Duke, you're talking about?
Right over on the edge of the camera frame, right next to the edge of the tree trunk. There's a black object peeking out.
Oh, okay, far over towards. Okay, I see it. Yeah, I see a black object right there.
That's what I usually look for. Black blobs that don't have a good explanation of being a shadow or a suspect. And sometimes you can tell by the picture, because you look at a regular shadow in the picture and then you look at this other black thing and you go, that ain't no shadow. It's too damn dark.
I actually, when he showed me, when he sent me that picture, I have a Samsung Note thing which has a little pen. I actually drew, looked like a arm. It looked like, to me, it looked like the shoulder, like the head and down to the shoulder, and then it camouflages into the grass or the trees, leaves, and you see almost like a shape of an arm close to the tree, but it's all like camouflaged itself. Like, do you believe that they might can able to be like a chameleon and actually change part of their body to certain colors and actually blend into the land?
Yeah, we could pretty much prove that. I have enough researcher friends that I know that have hair samples, and we've all tried doing the blending experiment with it. Because
Oh,
these things
cool.
are
Okay.
hollow, and they tend to take on the color of whatever they're right next to. So if you take a Bigfoot hair and you put it on a red notepad, shine a light on it, it's red. Put it next to a brown tree, it's brown. Put it next to green grass, it's green. So this is like part of how they do part of their blending trick, because parts of their hair that are right next to something it's actually in the sun will take on that color, which helps break up their outline.
Oh,
And
wow.
usually most of them are dark colored, so if they want to really hide, they just sit underneath the dark tree where there's a shadow or something, and boom, man, they're gone. You can't tell the
Wow.
difference between them and the shadow. They're all they have to do is not move.
Wow. That's pretty interesting. I was always, because when I drew it, when I outlined it and everything, I was drawing an arm there. That's pretty, that's pretty interesting. I like that. I remember that next time.
Yeah, we've seen some pretty strange things. We found one where a guy had a picture where he had a whole bunch of the red hoops in the background. He's like, I think there's one here. I think there's one here. I think there's one here. And there's one in the foreground, probably 15 feet away from him, leaning against a tree trunk with its arm out to the side, laying across a branch, like trying to, lean against the tree. And it is blending completely. If you look really close, you can see its mouth, you can see its eyes, you can see where the outline of its forehead is. You can make out all of that, but none of it is Bigfoot colored. It's the same color as the tree trunk.
Awesome. When you go out to the woods and everything, I don't know, a lot of people are different. Me and Wayne actually almost feels the same time. Do you ever get, like, say you're not seeing anything, but you get that strange feeling, your hair starts on the back, knowing that, okay, something's watching me? Do you still get that now, or is something different?
I get that from normal animals. I get that from birds and deer watching me.
Okay.
Yeah, I can really tell when Bigfoot are watching me. I got hunter senses, You can tell when something's watching
Right.
you. If you practice a lot, you can start differentiating between a deer is watching me or hungry predator is watching me or something unfriendly is watching me. That's a different one too. Like not necessarily looking at you as a steak, but uh, you know, something that they're not liking that they're going to follow around. You tend to get that feeling a lot. That's the hair goes up on the back of your neck. Something's following me around. It's not happy I'm here. Um, you
Right.
know, some of that is just it's a gaze thing. And people have done this with Bigfoot too, where I know somebody was watching them from across the valley. They had to be at least probably close to a mile away, and they had field glasses, and they were watching them on the slope on the other side of the valley, walking along. And all of a sudden, there was more than one of them. There's like two or three, and they just stopped and turned and looked right at them, and like
Right.
because they could feel their gaze on them. Even
Right.
it doesn't matter what the distance is, they could feel they're being watched from over there. All of them, and they all stopped and looked, and went, "Where somebody's watching us from over there."
Right. One of our guests on here is new, bomber guy. He asked
Yeah, let me put that up there. I put that up there for you.
Can you see that?
Hey, Bomber.
He said,
Bomber's a
Duke, did
ski.
you smell anything with your encounters? And if so, will you describe it for us? And have you smelled them during your research outings? Also, why do you think some smell and some don't? Great question, buddy.
Yep. Good
Yeah,
question.
thanks, Bomber. Actually, most of the time when they're around, you don't smell them at all. If they
Okay.
get super close, they smell kind of like a wet dog mixed with an electrical fire. Some of them really
Oh,
stink,
wow.
but it's because what they're eating, I think. Like I had one big alpha male that came up by my camp to grab some pork chops, and he was about 20 feet away from my tent, and he smelled like a rotting meat locker left out in the sun for a month. He was
Oh,
absolutely
wow.
horrible. It was like hard to even breathe. He smelled so freaking bad. But what I think was going on there is that it was early spring. They were near a thicket where they were catching deer all the time, and they were high up a mountain where there wasn't really any running water to speak of. So it's like they're spilling deer guts and blood all over themselves all the time and can't clean up. So you start smelling kind of bad. And that's pretty much what he smelled like. Usually you don't smell them at all. We've had them come right into camp and steal food from us down in the Blackfoot camp. They were doing that repeatedly. And you'd never smell them. We actually caught one in camp one night. As it was raiding the other tent, I crawled out of my tent and saw it making off silently into the darkness again. And there was no smell or anything. It was 20, 25 feet away from me at most.
So you believe that maybe the smell is just a normal, natural smell, like just like us? We smell when we eat different food. Our gas, our farts smell different.
Yeah. Well, there's every reason to believe that they've got the same kind of armpit stank that humans have if we're out running around in the sun sweating too much or something. Little microbes are eating our sweat, and so of course they would do the same thing with Bigfoot, and they would stink. But some people think they can basically like do it on command. If they can exude a foul stench to make you get the hint to go away or something, and they got scent glands under their arms that are doing it. Well, so do we, and we can't do it on command. Why would they be able to? I mean, if you want to get really realistic about it, maybe they can fart on command. Okay, maybe they can. I know people that can do that. Oh, there's a human over there that I don't like. I'm gonna go fart on the bastard and make him leave. This will really root him out. I ate some rotting roadkill yesterday. This will make him puke and leave the camp. This will work.
But do you think that also possibly it could be like you have certain animals that do different things from mating season? You think it could be also something to them that might be to attract a female version, or you just think it's
like
just
a mating ritual or something like that?
Well, keeping in mind that our sense of smell just totally sucks, and theirs is probably way better than ours is. It doesn't take much of a scent for them to pick up on it. So I'm sure there's pheromones involved with the females and the males and all that kind of stuff. It would be weird if there wasn't. It's the same with all the other grade A's.
Right.
Yeah, Pappy just made a comment that
yeah, I see that, and he's right. I've heard that from a number of researchers. One of them got his tent bit on, and he said he never could get it to quit smelling again. He watched it a bunch of times.
I've heard that from a couple places too about a Bigfoot coming up and peeing on somebody's house, or because they were ticked off at him. Yeah, I've heard that. Now, Duke, you alluded a little bit earlier on something about the mind speak. What side of the fence you on there?
I'm a hard science guy, and I tend to not believe in the woo at all until I see so much evidence for it that I can't say no anymore. And at this point, I've reached that level with all the people that I know that are talking about mind speak and stuff. And it's just like too many trustworthy researchers that can produce good physical evidence over and over and over again are going, this is what's happening. Well, if that's what's happening, that's what's happening. Look at let's use one of the celebrated scientists in the field of Bigfooting, Dr. John Bendernagel, as an example, who once said that if somebody tells you that they saw the Jolly Green Giant, you should listen politely to their story and and nod your head. And if you got 5 people all from the same area telling you that they saw the Jolly Green Giant, they don't know each other, you need to get your butt out in the field and do some research on it because there's something going on there. So I don't know what the deal is with the mind speak thing, but I do know that there's several people that I know that claim they're in psychic communication with at least some Bigfoot. And it seems to me that what they're telling me is it all adds up. Everything that I can vet on any of it always comes out to be accurate. So it's hard for me to naysay it. And then the other thing for that is that we had last year when we were being the Sasquatch Make-A-Wish Foundation, and we had Kevin Lang coming up here wanting to find his buddy of 35 years ago when he was a kid. He was running around with this Sasquatch named Glag, and he wanted to find Glag again before he died. Kevin died. And so he got a ride up here with some of the other researchers that were coming up last summer. And he knew 2 people that were psychics that claimed they were in communication with Glag, and he didn't believe them. He didn't believe the Bigfoot have any psychic powers because he was hanging around with the young one for 5 years when he was a kid. He never saw any evidence of any psychic woo, anything. So, but they told him that they would tell Glag where he was going to be. And when he got up here and we went to the ghost town of Coloma, guess who showed up there? Yeah, Glag, his buddy that he hadn't seen in 30 freaking years. So there's no way in hell that lone Bigfoot could have found us and figured out where the hell we are unless somebody told them. And the only option is at least one of these two psychics that claim to be in communication with Glag really freaking were in communication with them, because Kevin isn't the only one that saw him while we were there. So yeah, this is this is the real deal.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
we were contacted by someone else who actually had had their life saved by Glag 2 years before Kevin was even on the show talking about the experience. And after they heard about that, they contacted Kevin and said, "Hey, I think I ran into your friend Glag because he spoke English. He saved this person from a forest fire. They had been thrown off their horse and had a broken ankle, and Glag picked them up and hauled them away from the danger area. And they had already seen Bigfoot before, had encounters with them. They didn't know any of them could speak English, so this is a bit of a revelation. And then when they saw the episode with Kevin and went, well, this is in the same area that he was friends with this, Bigfoot years ago, that he taught to speak English. So maybe it was the same one. So the person in question contacted Kevin and said, "Hey, I had this experience, blah blah blah." And Kevin said, "Did he have any distinguishing marks?" And at which point the person in question said, "Yeah, he had a scar and it looked like this, and here's where it was." And Kevin said, "Oh my God, you did see him?" Because yeah, and he never really mentioned that on my show other than to say, "Well, he has a scar." That was it. He didn't give out any details on it. But this person knew exactly where it was and exactly what it looked like. So again, and we have a third person that we don't know for sure it was Glag, but we're leaning strongly toward that it probably was, because this was a person that, again, they were involved in a forest fire, forestry, and they were in a big open field, and the forest around the field was on fire. And they had one narrow lane to get out on this road, and I think they were trying to get to the road and do something, and they just became overcome with smoke and passed out. Too much smoke in the cab. Blah. So the next thing they woke up, they were actually laying in a tree line in the woods somewhere, and came walking out of there and saw some other forestry trucks nearby and walked up to them and said, "Hey, where am I?" And they went, "Oh my God, we thought you were dead. Nobody's heard anything from you. And where's your truck at?" And he said, "Well, I was in this field and blah, blah, blah." And they went, "Well, that's up the road from here. That area just got burned off. How did you get down here?" "Well, I don't know." "We'll jump in the truck. I'll take you up there and let's see if we can recover your vehicle." Well, when they got up there, his vehicle was still there. It wasn't very much damaged because this field just had like low grass in it. And so it didn't really start on fire or anything. The only damage to the truck was that whoever had gotten him out of the truck didn't really know how to work a door, or his fingers were the wrong size to pull the lever on it or something, because the roof of the truck was peeled open like a sardine can. That's how he had gotten the guy out of the truck.
wow. Yeah, you pretty much just described uh, our belief in the whole the woo phenomenon or whatever. We tend to believe more, biological, that these things are flesh and blood animals out there that we, just haven't caught up with or whatever. But when you get people, reputable, good people, talking about things like mind speak and stuff like that, how can you ignore it?
Yeah.
You know, you just can't. You
Yeah.
can't.
Well, in this situation too, it's like that was where me and Kevin both went, well, apparently there's something to this because Glag showed up. There's just like, what are the odds against that? You're coming from frickin' Arkansas. He hasn't seen you in 30 years. You haven't been in the area in, 25, almost 30 years. How would he know that Kevin was, in the next state over 17 miles across the border at this ghost town? There's no way in hell. So yeah, it's like well, let's let's take the impossible task. Finding Bigfoot. Oh, that's nothing. That's simple. Anybody can find Bigfoot. Let's find one particular Bigfoot and make it challenging, right? So there's no way in hell you could pull that off unless there was something else at play there. It's not that I'm that damn good. It's that I cheated and had psychics contact tell where we were going to be. He showed up. And apparently, according to Kevin, I didn't see the other parts of the troop, but he said he had two sons that he brought with him, and one of them had just had a little squatchlet that was like hardly any bigger than a human toddler, so really recently born. And So yeah, he had his whole family with him too.
Now,
Kevin was really happy to see him again, but he said he was like surprised at how much bigger he had got. And I said, "How much bigger? What do you mean?" He goes, "He got a lot bigger, a lot, lot bigger." And I went, "Well, dude, he was like 9.5 feet tall the last time you saw him, and oh, you're right. We're guessing he was like a teenager then. Well, how big is he now?" And Kev's like, "Oh, two of me and about 3 feet. So about 14.5 feet." And I'm like, "Oh my God."
oh my gosh.
Yep, 26.5 inch footprint, about 14.5 feet, stocky build with a height to weight converter scale. We're guessing around 2.5 tons. So he's up at the very top end of how big the Bigfoot get from what we've
Yeah.
been able to gather.
I was going to say that has to be the biggest one you've ever heard of. I mean, it certainly is me.
No, there's actually an even bigger one that's been caught on film. Blaine Tyler up in northeast Ontario was found a whole bunch of tracks in this vacant gravel pit, and he was in there filming it, and he was doing a long pan to his left, and he caught this monstrously huge alpha standing on this hillside next to this tree watching him. And after the fact, he noticed it was on film and went, "What the hell's that over there? There's nothing to cast that shadow. What the hell is that?" And then he went over, looked at it closer and went, "Oh my God, there's a giant squatch over there." So he got back into the area again, found the exact tree, and went over and measured it. And there's a big Y in the tree that's at the 20-foot level, and this thing's head isn't that far below it. So we're guessing 16 to 17 feet for this, and he's built like the Hulk too. This isn't tall, skinny basketball player. This is actual Bigfoot. So, yarg. But something's got to make those gigantic tracks. And, we find gigantic tracks too. One of the guys on my research team found, guessing 22 to 23-inch track. We got pictures of that one. I found ones that are about that size too. And that's here in Montana, so they get freaking huge, man.
What's the biggest track you've ever taken yourself? You've ever witnessed?
I didn't even drop a tape measure next to it because it was too indistinct. It looked more like a foot-shaped crater. But yeah, probably about 22, 23 inches, about the same size as the one that Mike found by Coloma.
Oh my God, just imagine something like that walking up on you in the woods. What would you do?
Yeah, you couldn't do anything, but you couldn't do anything to one that had an 18-inch track either. So it's all academic at that point. I
Yeah.
mean, let's face it, if it's your height, it could still whip your ass with one hand tied behind its back. So
Hmm.
size doesn't matter. They can all squish you.
Now,
You got to be extra scared because it's got 2 more feet of squishing power. I don't. One smaller than me could whip my ass, and I couldn't outrun it either. So there's no
yeah.
sense in being terrified of them just because they're bigger.
Uh, Before we let you go, I want to ask you this one more question. Um, and all this time that you've been doing it, taking reports and everything, have you ran across any credible encounters of habituators?
Have I now say what again now? Have I
And
found
the
what?
time that you've been taking, reports and everything, have you ran across any credible reports of people habituating these animals, like developing relationships with them?
Oh yeah, yeah. There's tons of people that habituate them. Lots of them never even make their reports public or anything. There's one family I know of down in the south that's been habituating the same troop for 3 freaking generations. They
In
buy
the
them
South, like in what state?
like they buy McDonald's cheeseburgers all the time. It's actually somebody that's related to a famous country music musician, and that's as far as I'll go with it. But yeah, they buy them a big old bag of McDonald's cheeseburgers every day, and they've been doing it for like almost 3 generations.
So you believe that there is some
Extremely
truth
dangerous. I
behind
don't
that?
think it's a good idea. Don't feed Bigfoot. They can feed themselves. You're gonna first of all, it's the bear thing. It's just like a bear. They get used to being fed, and then if you miss a feeding or something, they get pissed off. Where's my free food? The
Yeah,
other thing is that
exactly. And
some of
and
the smarter ones may actually look at it as tribute. Like you think they're a higher power and you're paying them tribute so they don't beat your ass.
hmm
That's a way worse situation. And of course, the other one is just the casual bystanders getting it because of you. Like you're feeding your Bigfoot every day for umpteen years, and all of a sudden you're sick and you go to the hospital for 2 weeks. Nobody's feeding the Bigfoot. The Bigfoot
Yep.
doesn't know what happened. Now he's pissed. What if you die in the hospital and somebody comes and buys your old house and they're living there? Then what happens?
That was going to be my point. Yeah, so I don't think it's a great idea
I
to
think it's a
do stuff
terrible
like
idea.
that.
Interact with them, yeah. Be friendly with them, yeah. I mean, most of them are non-hostile. They're just curious and neutral. Um, but feed them, no, bad idea. You can give them things. I mean, I know people that interact with them that never give them food. They give them objects. They give them old toys to play with. They give them dog squeezy toys that squeak and make weird noises. They like white feathers. They give them like a leather thong with a whole bunch of white feathers on it for a necklace that's like too big to go around a human's waist. Even that's about the right neck size for them. Make stuff like that. Leave it where they're around. Jerry Klein was telling me he left a dog squeezy toy in one of the areas where he knew there was Bigfoot around, and the next time he came and checked, it was gone, and he never did find out what happened to it. But 2 years later, he had an audio capture going about 4 or 5 miles away from there, and remember, this is 2 years later. And when he got the audio back and was listening to it, there was that damn squeaky toy about 60 feet away from the audio recorder going, wee, wee, wee. Something still had it and was playing with it 2 years later.
That's awesome. That's a really, really cool experiment right there.
Well, he's had other weird things happen to him too. He was out. He knew there was some down in these bushes, and he was going to feed him some peanut butter. And he had somebody there filming, and he kind of wanted to do two things at once. So instead of going closer to him and just chucking the peanut butter, he kind of hurled it at him. And then he turned around and he was talking to his buddy, and his buddy actually saw it. The peanut butter hit one of them. It was a plastic peanut butter container. And while he's standing there talking to the guy, all of a sudden the peanut butter container comes flying back and hits him in the back of the head.
Could you imagine?
Yeah, it's a good thing it was plastic, right?
Yeah,
I've seen them do
that's
weird
right.
things with peanut butter containers too. They don't necessarily know how to unscrew a lid. One of them, they had poked a hole through the plastic lid, and all the peanut butter was gone out of it. And there was a little twig that was leaning inside the bottle down to the bottom, where they had been using the twig to scrape the last little bits out that they couldn't get their finger in to get at, but they couldn't figure out how to unscrew the top. They're strong enough to
Huh.
poke their finger through it, but they couldn't figure out that they should unscrew it, right?
Yeah. All right. Duke, well, buddy, I appreciate it. We've been trying. We had those of you that don't know, Duke and I had a heck of a time getting him on today. Had some technical difficulties before he was able to, but luckily, Duke, he did some stuff to make it happen. And buddy, I appreciate you making that happen. I really do.
You're very welcome, man. Sorry for the technical stuff at the beginning here, but hey, at least got to be on here. And before we go, let me say hi to everybody: Pappy Two Bears and Old Bear and Bomber and Pegleg Kenny and everybody else that made it into chat. Love you guys. Thanks for being here.
Absolutely, we appreciate it, guys. Duke, I'd love to have you back, buddy. Now that we got everything figured out, got some more stuff I'd like to talk to you about.
Sure. I got a lot more time during the winter when I'm not trying to be out in the woods all the time. Hint,
Okay.
hint, hint.
All right, buddy. We appreciate it, and be safe out there, buddy.
All right, you guys too. Boots on the ground, butts in the field. Let's find the truth and let's everybody else know what the hell's going on.
All right, buddy.
All right. Bye.
Have a good one.
Have a good night.
As advertised, huh? Yeah,
Yeah.
Duke's crazy, man. He knows his stuff, man. He knows what he's doing. Good guy, good guy. And like Duke said at the beginning, sorry about all of the technical if difficulties, all the technical issues that we had, but we got it worked out and had him back on. Had a real good conversation, and like to have him back. And
Yeah, definitely.
all the guys
Had a great
tonight, everybody,
view.
Pappy, Bomber, Tommy, my buddy Daryl, Dad, Wildman, ex Forest Ranger, all you guys. We appreciate it, guys. Good show tonight. Good participation from you guys, and hope to see you back. We really do appreciate it.
Yep, for sure. I love it.
All right.
Oh yeah, don't forget. I seen on there. Don't forget to give me a shout out to Gypsy Road.
Gypsy, I saw Gypsy on there.
I see that on there. Appreciate it, Gypsy, if you're hearing us. You're still here. Thank you very much.
Yep. Yeah, we did his show a couple weeks ago and had a good time. All right, guys. Walls, you got anything before we get out of here?
No, I'm just enjoying the night out here. Hear all these crickets there.
All right. Everybody out there, guys, y'all be good to each other. And just stay safe out there.
Yep. Be good. Be safe, guys.
We will catch y'all later. See ya.
Thanks, guys.